Good morning. My name is Steve Onsman. I'm the pastor of Calvary United Church of Christ in Reading, Pennsylvania, an open and affirming congregation. Glad you're watching, or whenever you see this, hope you will share this with others. This is the Wednesday Word. It is a chance for people in my congregation, friends of the church, to ask deep theological, biblical questions, and I'm still looking for more questions. This is an anonymous one. It's a tough one. So recently, this person writes, a person I know had a terrible tragedy. Their 4-year-old child died. Some people said things like, quote, his name was in the book, unquote, or nothing we ever could have done could change what was to happen, or it was God's will or God's plan. How does this happen? Why is this? Okay, so this is one of the most frustrating aspects, certainly, of what I do, um, trying to keep well meaning people from saying hurtful and theologically destructive things when people are going through tragedies. Um, we've heard all of these kinds of things before from people, right? We've heard being part of God's plan. God needed another angel. Um, well, you know what? We needed that angel too. So that's they're in a better place. Yeah, well, that may be true, but this is a pretty good place too. So this kind of refusal to um, think about Earth as being a great place to live is problematic in itself. I don't think the people that I know who have said this over the many years I've been doing this meant to be mean or hurtful, but they are. I mean, that's what, and also they're defaming God. Um, so there are a number of passages in the Bible that speak of plans, God's plans, predestination. Um, it's ridiculous, but that's people understood that because how else are you going to explain what happens, why things happen? Um, but the English translation as plan, having to do with God's plans, only appears 7 times in the New Testament total. Um, predestined does appear as well, I think twice. But the idea of this plan, uh, one example I'll give you is from Acts 4, when Peter and John are lifting up all the things that are happening around them, good or bad, saying it's part of God's plan that was predestined. And the idea that at a particular time, I've talked about this in the past, I won't belabor it, but that Jesus came at a particular time based on a plan, it has very little biblical background to it, support. Um, and the thing is, the idea that God set this plan into motion for all our lives before even time began is, again, our understanding of God, but not necessarily biblical. And I think if you buy into this kind of fatalism, um, that everything that happens must happen because God makes it happen, and if that gets you through the day, I guess that's okay. But I have to say, it brings no comfort to someone whose child has died, someone who's experiencing some kind of tragic loss. And I think, worst of all, it turns God into an uncaring and even malevolent deity, a God of vengeance, a God that has disdain towards God's creation, to believe that it's done to teach us a lesson, that we'll learn it's done on purpose. So, you're a child, you get your parents physically abuse you. It's because God's teaching you something. It just doesn't sit well with me. So, in cases like this, I think, just from a pastoral point of view, it's better to say nothing and just weep with the person. Hugging someone who is mourning is far better than even saying things like, it will be okay, or time heals all wounds. These things may be true. You may have, and I may have experienced these things in our lives, but it doesn't bring any comfort to somebody when they're in the midst of loss. And I think it's better to keep silent than to malign God by blaming God for our losses. And I just don't think God is like that. I think God weeps with us when the chaos of life happens to us. And I believe God created an imperfect world. It was never perfect, filled with imperfect beings. imperfect creations and a whole lot of chaos. It's that it's and I keep hammering away at this, but I think to say otherwise, to focus on this idea that God, I mean, yeah, God makes plans, but they're not irrevocable, right? We can change what happens. And don't give me that, oh well, that was all part of God's plan too. That's just begging the question. That doesn't work. Um, to repudiate one of God's greatest gifts, free will. I know, there I go again. But without free will, we are puppets. We might as well be robots being manipulated by this God who seems to have nothing better to do than to micromanage our lives. It seems unworthy of the creator of all things, of the Almighty. So if you feel the urge to comfort someone with those kinds of words, listen, please don't. Don't. Just weep with them, hold them, and help them. But don't say things about God that aren't true, and don't say things about that you don't know about, because I don't say that stuff either. I just empathize and sit with them. That's what we should do. So that's all I have for today. What do you think? Send me an email, onsman@comcast.net. Um, Let me know. I'm always looking for more questions to grapple with. Send them to me, and I will do one for a Wednesday word. Stay safe out there. We're looking at open up for worship 8 and 9:30 a.m. on June 20th here in our sanctuary. Hope we'll see you then, or you can watch us on Facebook Live. Have a great day.